Welcome back to Gurukul lectures. So previously, I just tried to introduce you what is bioinformatics, how this study evolved from the normal biology or normal information technology studies, how it is different from there, and I tried to tell you that what all tools and techniques we have in there to help you in your studies. So I am just trying to convince you once again, it's a very powerful field of study and you can do lots of things with this. So in this small introduction, I just try to introduce you with the several applications which we have for this bioinformatics, where all you can apply and where all it has been applied already. So application of bioinformatics. Applications, they are applied everywhere, but I would just summarize them in three fields. One is medicine, in microbial genome, and in agriculture. They've been extensively applied. Like if I take the example in the field of medicine, it is used in drug development, in personalized medicine, in preventive medicine, and in gene therapy. So let's start with drug discovery. What is drug discovery is, as I told you earlier, the idea of using X-ray crystallography in drug discovery, it was quite an old one. Up to about 30 years before we used to do that, but the new thing here is we apply a lot of computational knowledge to predict this 2D and 3D structure, and this protein structure prediction, it has a huge influence on drug discovery at every stage in the design process. Classically, it is used for lead optimization. That is a process that uses structure to guide the chemical modification of the lead molecule and to give an optimized fit, meaning in terms of shape, like how many hydrogen bonds it is going to form or what non-covalent interactions are expected with the target. So in drug discovery, we have lot of options. As I said, it's a very long process and we have lot of options, but we can limit these options based on our previous knowledge with the bioinformatic resources. Then if we talk about the personalized medicine, what is personalized medicine is that we take into consideration the individual patient's genetic and other social information, like from which atmosphere he comes, what is his genetic makeup, and then we design the medicine for him. And this personalized medicine will never be possible without bioinformatic resources. So I tell you one example here, like for example, this is a website 23andMe. What is this website doing? It will take this has a database, bioinformatic database, and what it does is it will take your saliva sample and it will sequence your desired genes, and then it will predict about yourself, meaning what genes you are susceptible to, what diseases, and what diseases you should not worry about it, what precautions you should take. What we do in preventive medicine is that we try to tell you beforehand, before the actual occurrence of disease, that you have to take these preventive measures so that you can be saved from suffering with this disease, and that prediction can only be done by your gene data, and that data is being analyzed by several bioinformatic resources. So in preventive medicine also, the bioinformatic tools have proven to be indispensable, and same is with gene therapy. What we do in gene therapy, we have several genetic disorders. We try to repair those disorders there itself by meaning first we identify what is going wrong, and then we try to repair them there itself by different methods. So the next area which we want to discuss is the microbial genome application. In microbial genome application, they can range from waste cleanup, climate change studies, biotechnology, and alternative energy resources. So, they are applied at several places, and the basic fundamental feature remains the same, that we can understand the genes and exact location to the nucleotide level, and we can manage huge information together at one go, like what we do in waste cleanup with bioinformatics. Is that, Deinococcus is a bacterium radiodurans. It is said to be a very sturdy bacterium. It can repair its DNA in very tough conditions also. So we have a huge problem of waste cleanup. So we thought, when this bacteria is so sturdy, this bacteria can be used to break down of several chemicals or maybe heavy metals or several radioactive substances which are present at the websites. And I trust and believe this could have never been done without the exact information of the genome and without proper handling of the genes and the sequences and their functioning. Then same way, they can be applied in climate change studies. How we are trying to deal with climate change is that the climate is changing because of increase in carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere, and we try that the carbon dioxide doesn't reach to the atmosphere as much as it is going. So we are trying this with several methods, and bacterium became the microbes are the very important ones in them. Like for example, I have one organism, that is Rhodopseudomonas pastoris. What it does, it can take a lot of carbon and fix it and retain it with this. So once it is doing it, it is saving a lot of atmospheric carbon. And to get best out of this microbe and to make it very useful for the climate change studies, we need to be perfect in handling its genome and its genes and its sequences and the phenotype expression and everything. And I trust that it cannot be done without these resources of bioinformatics. Then going next, biotechnology or alternative source of energy. Both these applications also work on the same principle. Next application of bioinformatics comes in agriculture. So in agriculture, the crop improvement, insect resistance, improved nutritional quality, drought resistant varieties, veterinary science, so all work on the same funda, but the way it is applied in medicine, the way it is applied in microbial technology, it is also very applicable in agriculture. The next thing where bioinformatics could be very useful is in predicting the possible molecules as inhibitor for the virus that can be tested in the laboratory for efficacy. So we all been trying to develop a drug for COVID-19, and you cannot try it from anywhere. So what we do is we predict several molecules, meaning first we'll predict where to hit, and second then we'll predict which inhibitor should I use so that I can control this virus. And these inhibitors or inhibitors for the virus are suggested on the basis of their structures and the models which have been developed. So going further, from analyzing the sequences to final drug candidate prediction. So actually how it has been done for COVID-19 is we have 5 segments. The drug candidate prediction, though we see nowadays a lot of drugs have been proposed to be produced, but the basic drug candidate prediction is basically a 5 segments, or it has 5 steps. First is what was done is that retrieval of viral sequences from nucleic acid databases. In fact, first the database was built, and immediately after the discovery of SARS-CoV-2 in Wuhan city in China in December 2019, scientists experimentally determined the sequence of the virus and they deposited that in public databases, and that was freely accessible to all the scientists so that they can work with this. And what the bioinformaticians did, they downloaded the sequences from these databases and starting analyzing these sequences to get the useful information about this virus so that the drug can be developed for this one. And here I have shown you NCBI, which maintains large number of sequences of and all genome database, all genome information about this virus, which has gradually come up in different steps. The next thing here is the sequence comparison. So once we have database built, we do what? We compare the sequence with the other viruses. Like when this sequence was first obtained, the sequence similarity search was done, and it was understood that this is a SARS family, CoV family, and it has gradually evolved from SARS outbreak in 2003, and it is found to be very similar to a coronavirus in bats. And from that information, it was predicted that this virus has probably originated in bats first. Subsequently, acquiring favorable mutations or changes in the genome, the virus jumped to humans from bats through a Pangolin intermediate. So the third step in this analysis or in this application of bioinformatics in dealing with this COVID-19 was the phylogenetic analysis. What did we do in phylogenetic analysis is that when the sequences were compared and a phylogenetic tree, like I told you earlier, was built, it was realized that there are at least 3 different strains: type A, type B and type C of the virus, which is circulating across the world. Type A was the ancestral strain that moved from China to Europe, and the other strain B originated from A and then moved to America. Type C again originated from A and by changing its genome and currently prevalent in Asia. All this fascinating information was obtained with due help of bioinformatic analysis using these phylogenetic analysis tools. Going further, that is building the structural models. So this structural model which I have shown here is again has come up as a result of the bioinformatic tools. Like the components, the 3 components of this model developed, they are based on 3 proteins. One is S spike protein, which is a PDB code for this one, meaning PDB is what? It's a protein structure database, and if you go there and if you want to find the details of this protein, this is 6CRV, and the envelope, that is E protein, that has a PDB code of 5x29. So if you go to PDB database, you can find out the protein sequence which is coding for this one. And for membrane protein is M, and the PDB code for this is 316G. So what scientists did is they analyzed all the proteins of this virus, and based on these structures they modeled and they came out with this structure. And you trust and believe me, this could not have been done without this much application of computer science in biology or maybe the bioinformaticians. Going further is in the drug designing, where we are working now. So I just show you this with one study which has been done by some scientists around and recently, and with this one we can appreciate that what is happening is or maybe how people are doing, or whatever people are doing, how we can visualize that in our mind. So the top one, the left A, it shows you what? It shows you the complete genome of COVID-19 virus, right? And the one which this scientist is targeting is the 6WH4H protein, and he's shown this with he's marked this in the A part of this picture, and he has highlighted that one. In the B part, he is showing you the interactive visualization of this protein, meaning in the beginning of the study, when we are in the introduction, if you understand out of that, is that it has a lot of alpha helix, lot of beta sheets, and lot of coils, and they can be understood, and how the drug molecule is going to interact in this structure. All that prediction could have been done very easily with the bioinformatic resources. Then the C part shows you what? The C part of this example or this picture shows how the mutations on the structure of SARS-CoV-2 proteins are affecting this study. So the yellow portion in this region, it shows you the tentative areas where the mutations are possible, and in the last one he has drawn the list of amino acid mutations in the selected PDB structure. So these development of software, tools, and what was the aim of this first introductory lecture was to convince you that you can appreciate what amazing part of amazing field of study this is, and how world cannot survive without using these techniques and tools. Like you cannot work nowadays without computers. Same way, a biologist cannot work nowadays without bioinformatic tools. So with this one, I would end my talk here.